What if the thing you've been chasing your entire life is the very thing keeping you miserable? What if happiness, as it is sold to you by modern culture, is not a destination, but a trap? You have been told the same story your entire life. Work harder, achieve more, fix yourself, reach the next milestone, then you'll finally be happy. Yet, if you look honestly at your own experience, something doesn't add up. Every achievement delivers a brief rush of satisfaction before life returns to normal. The finish line keeps moving. The promise never arrives. We live in a culture obsessed with acquisition. Buy this, achieve that, optimize your morning routine, fix your flaws, and build your kingdom. The modern self-improvement movement is designed to keep you permanently dissatisfied. It tells you that happiness is a destination just over the next hill. But if you look back at your life, you will notice a disturbing glitch in the matrix. Every time you cross a finish line, the sky does not clear. The satisfaction lasts for an hour, a day, maybe a week. Then the emptiness returns and you start looking for the next hill. You are trapped in a rigged game. Nearly 2 centuries ago, Arthur Schopenhauer dissected this human pattern with frightening precision. He did not look at life through the lens of toxic positivity. He looked at it with the cold eye of a coroner doing an autopsy on the human soul. What he found was that the very mechanism you use to seek happiness is the exact thing that guarantees your misery. If you keep running this program, you will waste decades chasing a mirage. You will give away your youth, your attention, and your peace of mind to a future that never arrives. The stakes are not just that you might feel bored. The stakes are that you will live and die a slave to an internal mechanism you do not understand. There is a hidden law governing your desires. Most people never discover this law. They spend their entire lives obeying it without realizing it exists. To break free, you have to understand the pendulum that is currently swinging your life between 2 forms of torture. Consider the last time you wanted something desperately. Maybe it was a new job, a specific relationship, or a physical object. While you were wanting it, you were in pain. You felt a lack. Your mind was restless, constantly projecting into the future, telling you that your current reality was insufficient. This is the first state of human existence. Acute dissatisfaction. Your desire is a contract you sign with yourself to be unhappy until you get what you want. So you work, you lose sleep, you strain your relationships and your body to close the gap between what you have and what you want. And finally, you get it. The goal is achieved, the contract is fulfilled, and you feel a sudden rush of relief. But watch what happens next. The relief is not an active, positive force. It is merely the absence of the pain of wanting. The pleasure is just the cessation of suffering. The disturbing part is how quickly the mind adapts. Within days, the new reality becomes the baseline. The new car becomes just the thing you drive to work. The new partner becomes the person who leaves their shoes in the hallway. The promotion becomes a list of new problems and heavier responsibilities. Imagine a man who spends 15 years chasing a promotion. He sacrifices weekends, ignores friends, and convinces himself that the title will finally make him feel successful. The day arrives, there is celebration, congratulations, relief. For a few weeks, he feels elevated. Then something strange happens. His mind adjusts. The new promotion becomes normal. A new target appears, another title, more money, more recognition. The finish line moved the moment he crossed it. This is what psychologists today call the hedonic treadmill, but Schopenhauer called it something far more poetic and devastating. He called it the pendulum of life.
The human mind swings back and forth between pain and boredom. When we want something we do not have, we suffer from hunger and lack. When we finally get it, the hunger vanishes, but it is immediately replaced by a heavy, suffocating boredom. We look around and realize that the prize did not fix the internal void. The excitement dies, the silence returns, and the mind becomes restless again. To escape the boredom, we invent a new desire, sign a new contract for unhappiness, and pull the pendulum back toward pain. Most people spend their entire lives swinging between these 2 points. They mistake the brief moment when the pendulum passes through the center, that fleeting second of relief between lack and boredom, for happiness. They build entire careers, empires, and families just to keep the pendulum swinging, terrified of what will happen if it ever stops. The situation becomes even darker when you realize that many of your desires were never consciously chosen. Carl Jung later wrote extensively about the shadow, the unconscious parts of our psychology that drive our behavior while we claim we are in control. Schopenhauer took this concept to a cosmic level. He argued that you are being driven by a blind, irrational force he called the will. The will is not smart. It does not care about your peace of mind, your mental health, or your financial stability. It is an evolutionary hunger, a primal urge to survive, reproduce, and expand at all costs. You are merely the vessel this force uses to express itself. When you feel a burning desire to achieve status, that is not your soul speaking. That is the will using your ego to ensure its own dominance. It dangles the carrot of happiness in front of your nose, knowing you will pull the cart forever just to get a bite. And the moment you bite, it replaces the carrot with a fresh one. Most people miss something important about this dynamic. They think that if they just find the perfect balance, if they just achieve enough security, they can beat the system. They think they can outsmart the will by winning the game. But you cannot win a game where the rules are written to ensure your defeat. Robert Greene often talks about the necessity of seeing people and situations as they are, rather than as we wish them to be. If you look closely at your own behavior, you will see your active, blind participation in this toxic pattern. Look at your screen time. Look at your debt. Look at the way you seek approval from people you don't even like. You are consuming more information, buying more things, and chasing more status than any generation in human history. Yet anxiety and loneliness are at an all-time high. You are trying to cure a disease by taking more of the poison that caused it. You believe the solution to your restlessness is more achievement, more self-improvement, more acquisition. You pride yourself on your ambition. You think your drive makes you special, elite, or superior to those who settle for less. Much of what we call ambition is a mixture of genuine aspiration and unconscious escape. You run toward the future because you are terrified of the present. You accumulate titles and trophies because without them, you don't know who you are. Your restlessness is a shield you use to protect yourself from the terrifying realization that your life is passing you by while you prepare to live. Yet this is where everything changes. If the pursuit of pleasure is a trap and accumulation leads to boredom, then the modern formula for a good life is completely inverted. Contentment does not come from maximizing your pleasures or expanding your territory. It comes from wanting less, not acquiring more. To navigate this without retreating to a cave, you must adopt 3 practical principles to restructure how your mind operates daily. The first principle is to learn to delay gratification without mentally obsessing over the reward. When you set a target, whether a business milestone or a personal achievement, train yourself to focus purely on the execution. If you constantly visualize the end glory, you are merely feeding the craving, signing a fresh contract for unhappiness until that distant day arrives. Treat the goal as a compass directing your actions, not a savior that will cure your internal unrest. The second principle is to spend time deliberately doing nothing productive. In a world optimized for performance, stillness feels like a sin. Dedicate a small portion of your day to existing without an agenda. Turn off the notifications, put down the book, and refuse to plan your next move. When you allow yourself to sit through the initial wave of boredom without immediately seeking a distraction, the mental pendulum naturally slows down and the urgent need to chase the next shiny illusion fades. The third principle is to measure success by inner stability rather than external accumulation. When evaluating your progress, do not just count your assets or your achievements. Ask yourself how easily your peace of mind can be disrupted by outside events. If a single bad review or a delayed project destroys your emotional baseline, you are still a prisoner to circumstances. True advancement is marked by a mind that remains steady regardless of whether external tides are rising or falling. This does not mean you must sit under a tree and starve. It means you must change your relationship with your own mind. Friedrich Nietzsche, who was deeply influenced by Schopenhauer before breaking away, warned that those who fight monsters must see to it that they do not become monsters in the process. When you fight the monster of lack by constantly consuming, you become a black hole that no amount of success can ever fill. The strategic implication of this shift is profound. When you stop chasing the phantom of future happiness, you regain control of your attention in the present. Think about the power dynamic this creates. A person who needs everything is easily manipulated. They can be bought with a title, controlled with a paycheck, and broken with a piece of criticism. They are a puppet whose strings are pulled by every external event. But the most difficult person to control is not the strongest person. It is the person who no longer needs what everyone else is fighting over. They cannot be easily bought because they do not value the currency of the crowd. What happens next is what truly matters. When you step off the hedonic treadmill, you experience a sharp, uncomfortable detox period. The mind, stripped of its constant distractions and future goals, will initially panic. The old boredom will rise up like a dark cloud. You will feel an intense urge to pick up your phone, to start a new project, to find someone to validate you, or to buy something you do not need. This is the moment of friction. This is where most people fail. They mistake the discomfort of detoxification for a sign that they need to start running again. But if you stay still, if you observe the hunger without feeding it, something extraordinary happens. The pendulum slows down. The distance between pain and boredom shrinks. You begin to develop what the ancient Stoics and modern depth psychologists call self-mastery. You realize that the background noise of your mind is not an enemy to be silenced with achievements, but a reality to be observed and accepted. The real source of peace is not the presence of ecstasy, but the absence of anxiety. It is the quiet dignity of a mind that is no longer begging the world for permission to be okay. Contentment is a negative state. It is the subtraction of unnecessary desires, the elimination of artificial needs, and the dismantling of the illusions that keep you dependent on external circumstances.
Look back at the text message you are waiting for. Look at the milestone you think will save you. If you get it, remember that it will not fix you. If you do not get it, remember that it cannot destroy you. The game only has power over you as long as you believe the prize is real. When you step out into the world after this realization, you will face a new kind of friction. You will be surrounded by people who are still running on the treadmill at full speed. They will look at your lack of desperation and call you lazy, unmotivated, or cynical. They will try to pull you back into the race because your stillness makes them uncomfortable. It reminds them of the futility of their own running. Your next challenge will not be surviving your own desires, but surviving the social pressure of a world built entirely on endless consumption. If you want to continue this investigation into the hidden mechanisms of human behavior, if you want to look behind the curtain of modern psychology and philosophy without the filter of self-help cliches, consider subscribing. We do not offer easy answers or cheap comfort here. We offer the cold truth because that is the only thing that can actually set you free. Leave a comment below with the one desire you realize you need to drop today. Let the community know what weight you are choosing to leave behind. The next time you feel the burning urge to chase an illusion of future happiness, stop, breathe. Look at the world around you exactly as it is right now. You do not need to overcharge your life to justify your existence. Most people will spend their entire lives running faster. They will never stop long enough to ask whether the race itself is worth winning. Schopenhauer tried to warn you that the race is a trap. The only way to win is to walk off the track.